Hi everyone, and welcome to today's podcast. My name is Max, and with me here today I have Jussi, architect and domain expert, and we're going to discuss the topic of Peppol, what it is, why it's gaining popularity, and also maybe the common misunderstandings around it. And I guess Peppol is one of those words that most finance and IT teams have heard of, but if we were to ask them, please explain how you perceive it, the answers might vary quite wildly. Some perceive it to be maybe a government network. Others say that it's a pure file format, and others might think it's just a checkbox in their ERP. And at least for me, what I've noticed is that Peppol is often treated like a feature, when in reality, maybe you could see it more as an infrastructure layer with rules, governance, technical design choices that really have real implications for how invoices move across Europe. So maybe before we talk about why Peppol is becoming the default, let's start off with unpacking what it actually consists of in plain language. So if you were to walk us through what Peppol actually is, not in marketing terms, but in practical ones, how would you describe it? And if a company were to ask, well, what is Peppol? What is it that they should understand about it?
Yes, that's actually a really good question. And I would define that Peppol is a interoperability framework with shared rules, shared document types, and shared network as well. So it's all of those, not just one thing. And the network actually removes need to implement any one-to-one integrations between the companies and government and so on. So that is clearly one benefit of Peppol. And the shared rules as well. Everyone knows, or at least should know, what the rules are. And those are actually really well defined. Mm-hmm. And that said, everyone actually is sending the documents exactly the same way.
Yeah, got it. So when we hear often maybe that Peppol is just another XML format, to quote, why would you say then that that's a misunderstanding, and what would be the real difference between, for instance, Peppol and then you have the EN 16931 standard, and then maybe versus just sending structured data in general?
Yeah, that's actually a really good and relevant question. And first of all, Peppol is about XML files, yes. Mm-hmm. And Peppol is actually more than one XML file document type. It's invoices, credit notes, orders, order responses, catalogs, and so on. And the European e-invoicing standard defines more about what must be in the document. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Peppol is, in the other hand, it defines how this requirement is used in practice. And so when the meaning and structure are defined upfront, it leads in the predictable outcomes.
Right, yeah.
And this is basically what separates Peppol from just a structured data.
Okay, yeah. Thank you for clarifying. Maybe another thing to look into is that Peppol, of course, didn't start out as a universal solution, but over the last few years, we've seen it move from somewhat of a niche thing to more mainstream, and in some countries, even becoming the default. And of course, that doesn't happen by accident. And from what we've seen and heard, Peppol's growth isn't driven by just one thing. It's a combination of the regulations, cross-border complexity, fraud prevention, and of course, the need for predictable standards. So let's talk a bit about why Peppol is gaining ground and why that momentum is unlikely to slow down. How much of Peppol's rise would you say is regulatory-driven versus market-driven? And are governments and the EU choosing Peppol because they like it or because it solves problems that they maybe otherwise couldn't?
Yeah, I would say that the regulation gives Peppol a big push.
Yep.
But the companies actually choose Peppol because it just works. So it kind of simplifies the interoperability and reduce manual work, simplifies the process, for example. And then Peppol is often chosen because it enables the both national and international traffic. You don't need to build something new for each market and each country. So I would say high data quality, shared practices, and high automation lead to predictable results. And that's the big thing in Peppol, I would say. That's Peppol keeps growing.
Makes sense. And of course, from that, we can pinpoint that Peppol fits very well together with what's coming next in many markets like ViDA, VAT in the digital age, different CTC frameworks, real-time reporting, and so on. What would you say it is about Peppol's design that makes it so suitable for that future?
Peppol is designed as a framework for high quality, predictability, and extensibility. And that is actually a really strong foundation for any future requirements and needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then to a slightly other topic, what I usually find quite interesting is the common misconceptions of Peppol. It's one of those things that's really widely talked about, but maybe often misunderstood even by people you would maybe sometimes expect to be on top of things, like CIOs, CFOs, IT leads, even software vendors working closely with e-invoicing. And I think many times we hear the same assumptions come up again and again, like Peppol is only for the public sector, or Peppol guarantees compliance, or Peppol is free and easy to build internally. And what we learn and seen is that these assumptions can lead to very wrong decisions in the worst case. So let's take a few of the most common misconceptions and review what's actually true in practice. If you had to pick a few of the Peppol misconceptions that cause the most problems for companies, what would your picks be?
I would say that Peppol is sometimes a little bit oversimplified, and it's not a system built once and forget. You need to actively maintain it because the rule changes are happening every now and then. There might be new document types. Some of them might become even mandatory and business critical for the companies. And Peppol itself, it doesn't guarantee the compliance, but the sender's responsibility is always ensure the data correctness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really key point, and I hope everyone was taking notes on that one. So then again, when companies start using Peppol in the production environment, what would you say is the thing that surprises them the most when doing that shift?
I would say the biggest surprise has been how strict the rules actually are. For example, the amounts must add up. And when the rules and requirements are followed, the network works consistently, just as it should.
Okay, so I think if we were to find the key takeaways from today, it is that Peppol isn't just a technical option. It's fast becoming foundational infrastructure for how business data moves across Europe. Its growth isn't hype-driven. It's really being pulled forward by both regulation, cross-border complexity, and of course the need for predictable, standardized data. And lastly, of course, the companies that understand what Peppol really is, not just what they think it is, will be the ones best positioned for what comes next.